What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com, broadcasting live on YouTube, on X, on Twitter, on Roku, all of the things. I'm your host, Andrew Romanella. I got you for the next 30 and change, and we have so much to talk about in the sports world today. Baseball, basketball, football, Super Bowl commercials, and your daily bananas. That's your lineup today, Thursday, February 6th, 2025. You can get in on the action as we tell you every single day on the social media. It's The Rome Show 1. That's The Rome Show, the number 1. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, the whole 9 on the social media handles. And then, of course, the mothership, 12OZ Sports. Follow us everywhere. You want to comment live? It's you, it's me, and it's a good conversation. Then go to YouTube or go to X, go to 12OZ Sports, and you can go ahead and click the comment button, and you can join in instantaneously. We hope you do a lot of that. I said a lot to talk about, so we are not going to waste much time. And we are going to get right into this thing because at the back end of today's show, roughly 7:20, 7:22, we are going to go into Super Bowl preview number 2 of the week. If you remember correctly, yesterday we talked about the battle between the offense of the Kansas City Chiefs and the defense of the Philadelphia Eagles. Today, we are going to break down the reverse. We're going to talk about that running attack for the Eagles that averages 227 yards per game through 3 in the postseason. All right. And that defense of the Kansas City Chiefs led by Steve Spagnuolo that has 10 sacks during this postseason and has been playing some really good football. So once we get through the basketball, the baseball, and the like, I know the people are excited about the Super Bowl. We're only 4 days away. Stay with us on the backside so we can give you our thoughts on that. Let's get started here with the headlines on this Thursday. I know it's not a hump day, but we still have some headlines for you. First and foremost, yesterday was National Girls and Women's in Sports Day. And I got to say, it is a phenomenal day to celebrate all the fantastic girls and women in all sports across all planes, lower level, amateur, middle school, high school, college, professional, in the broadcast booth, everywhere. National Girls and Women's in Sports Day has been created to celebrate the strides that women have made in sports. And yesterday, Donald Trump really put a stamp on women's sports by signing an order that is going to prevent transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I just wanted to say this. Here at the Rome Show, we don't care who you are. You can be whoever the heck you want to be. You can identify however you want to identify. That doesn't matter to us, okay? But this rule protects the sanctity of women's sports. There should be no male, originally born individual by sex that should ever have the opportunity to compete in women's sports. It is just not right, and we've seen it in the past. I think the most known one was the swimmer that spent the year, per NCAA rules at the time, of taking the appropriate medication to get to a certain, I'm calling it scientific state. That's what I've always said in this situation. Bottom line is, I thought it was really awesome for the current administration to look at where women and girls in sports have come, and they've come so far, and to make sure that that doesn't get affected by something that I think would, in theory, be out of their control. So first and foremost on the docket for National Girls and Women's in Sports Day is protecting the sanctity of girls and women's sports. And I thought that was fantastic to see, but that's not the only story of the day. We continue. NBA has been popping off, okay? So as much as we want to talk about football, we got to talk about basketball, okay? So we talked so much about the Luka Doncic trade. We even got to see De'Aaron Fox last night in a Spurs uniform with Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama. Well, the biggest and arguably the most controversial name on the trading block this year has been Jimmy Butler. It's been a saga upon sagas for the Miami Heat and for Jimmy Butler with what he wants. And I have been against the way Jimmy Butler's acted this entire time, but the bottom line is it seems like both sides have come to a trade. The Warriors are going to get Jimmy Butler, okay? And the Heat are going to get Andrew Wiggins and a protected first-round pick. The Jazz are also in this trade. They get Dennis Schroeder. And the Raptors are also in this trade. They get Kyle Anderson. So Jimmy Butler will team up with Draymond Green and Steph Curry in Golden State. The original plan for the Golden State Warriors was to get Kevin Durant. But it sounds like coming out of Kevin Durant's camp, he does not want to go back to Golden State, with which he won back-to-back titles and also was back-to-back finals MVPs. But that was not everything in the NBA. 11 and a half years Chris Middleton spent in Milwaukee, and that is now over. The Bucks traded Middleton to the Wizards, and they received Kyle Kuzma in return. Chris Middleton leaves Milwaukee first all-time in three-pointers made, third all-time in total points, second all-time in minutes played, and second all-time in games played. Since Chris Middleton helped lead the Milwaukee Bucks alongside Antetokounmpo to a 2021 title, it has been injury bug city for Middleton, and it is probably more of a refresh than anything else. Kyle Kuzma signed a 4-year deal with Washington in July of 2023. So the Bucks are looking about 2.5 years of Kyle Kuzma. Just to finish the NBA trade talk, I believe it was Jonas Valanciunas was also traded from the aforementioned Washington Wizards. He ends up in Sacramento as the Kings continue to overhaul and adjust to see if they can make a late playoff push. So the NBA during Super Bowl week popping off to the nth degree. Today is the last day, and I got to imagine yesterday was the last day of the big splashes, but who really knows? Dalton Knecht got traded from the Lakers last night to the Hornets for Williams, the center. So I just think until that last hour, you're not really going to know. But this has been a fun NBA trade deadline. You know, the trade deadline in the NBA usually pops off. It's that one sport where you feel like you're going to get something big usually every year. But for some reason this year, it feels a whole lot bigger. And I'm sure it's because Luka was traded and AD was traded. And everyone keeps using the terminology, nobody's safe. But I also think that makes it fun. Like, that's how it should be. Do I want players traded all the time? No, I think that's probably tough for them. But that is the business of this thing. And everybody should understand that if they don't handle themselves appropriately, whether you agree as a fan or you don't, no matter what argument you've made here, every organization has the choice to trade, drop, release, and sign whoever the hell they want. And the Mets said, you know what? We are going to go ahead and sign the one and the only Pete Alonso. That is right. Clap it up, ladies and gentlemen. The saga's over. The New York Metropolitans have signed Pete Alonso to a 2-year, $54 million deal. Now check out your screen, because the New York Mets might have one of the best lineups in the National League heading into the 2025 season, headlined by the last 3 major signings for this team, starting with when Steve Cohen took over this team. He not only instilled into the New York Mets fan that we're going to spend money, we're going to do what's right to get ourselves to championship contention with getting Francisco Lindor. And it might not have looked great off the jump, okay? You might not have been a huge fan of Francisco Lindor, but 3.5 years down the line, you look at that signing and you say that one was probably the only decision he really had there that was a major splash at that time, but two has really worked out for this organization. Okay, I don't care if Francisco Lindor doesn't lead the league in average, doesn't lead the league in RBIs, doesn't lead the league in homers. What he's done for the Metropolitans is elite. And by the way, his baseball's only gotten better and better and come back to the numbers on the back of his baseball card. So now Francisco Lindor heads off a lineup with Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, and then if you can continue to have Mark Vientos be the guy he has been, your sixth hitter is Starling Marte. Now, maybe more on the back nine than the front nine, but Starling Marte becomes a guy that has no pressure on him whatsoever to do anything, okay? Whereas over the last 2 years, Starling Marte has been somebody in this lineup that you're expecting in the fourth or the fifth guy, like, okay, we need you to do something here. Like, we can't really have you take time off like this from the standpoint of playing poor or not playing poor, obviously. And so this lineup has veteran hitters all over the place. You throw Nimmo and McNeil in there to really add to what this. Okay. We have a real chance here to get back to the National League Championship Series, and then a real chance here to say, hey, maybe we can make our first World Series run since 2015. And maybe this could be a sustained situation. Alonso signs for 2 years and $54 million. Check out the stats, by the way, for Pete in his career. But he has an opt-out after the 2025 season. So if after this year, Pete Alonso's like, hey, you know what? I want to get back on free agency. I want to test the waters here and maybe get the long-term deal that I thought I would get. All right, go ahead. And for the Mets, it only works out in their favor because they didn't want to sign him long-term. Okay. And so you're able to do exactly what you wanted. Well, if we bring Pete back, we want to bring him back on our terms, which they did. And if he opts out, as much as this is going to sound wild, that's probably a good thing for the New York Metropolitans. That's probably a good thing, okay? Because that means he has a dynamite year, and you're probably in contention for a World Series. A lot of early returns on the Mets maybe being favorites for the World Series. They're the Mets, so we're just going to be, calm, cool, collected. I just don't believe it till I see it, so let's see it, and then we will start believing it. If you look at the screen, you got Pete's numbers here. He's a 4-time All-Star. He was the Rookie of the Year, third all-time in home runs for the New York Metropolitans, 226, that is. The number that I want you to look at, though, that I think is arguably the most important outside of the RBI production, the home run production, what his slugging percentage is, I want you to take a look at that games played number. Okay, now remember, Major League Baseball, 162 games in a season. His first year, 161. The COVID year, 57 to 60. 152, 160, 154, and he played every single game last year for the New York Metropolitans. I don't know if that really exists, okay, especially in this sport. You're talking Mikal Bridges in the NBA type stuff. You're talking a miniature version of a poor man's Cal Ripken Jr., which in today's day and age, a poor man's Cal Ripken Jr. feels like Cal felt when he was going 2,000 plus games in a row and playing every single day for the Orioles. So an absolute great move for the New York Metropolitans. Absolutely presents them in a situation where they could be the best team, not just in the National League, but in Major League Baseball. But you got to do it to do it. Okay. Last year, they got a taste of some of that winning with the core they have. They add Juan Soto. They re-signed Pete Alonso. You add Clay Holmes. You add a few other pieces in the bullpen. You have Sean Manaea coming back. Can you make Montas something like you did Manaea last year? What's Kodai Senga? There are some questions still here. Okay, there are some questions here. But you cannot deny that the New York Metropolitans are better today than they were at the end of last season, and that it's been a really good offseason. It might not be the greatest offseason. I have no clue what you think as a Mets fan, but I think it's an A offseason because they've done exactly what they said they were going to do. They've tried at least to do exactly what they said they were going to do. And me as a Mets fan, bam, that's exactly what I want for my ownership group. Jonathan Cup writes in, he identifies as a polar bear. Let's effing go, Mets. Pete Alonso is back. That's right, John. That is right, baby. I want the polar bear all year hitting bombs. Give me 30, Pete. This could be the first time in the history of the New York Metropolitans that they have 3 players in their lineup that could hit 30 or more home runs in Soto, Lindor, and Alonso. I cannot explain how exciting it is. Exciting time to be a Mets fan. It's actually an exciting time to be a New York fan. Think about the Knicks, man. Think about the Yankees. Obviously, they're always good, but they were in the World Series last year. Think about what the Mets are doing, okay? If you're a New York Jets fan, I don't know how much fun this cycle of every 3 years firing a GM and firing a coach is, but for some reason, the Aaron Glenn thing feels really nice right now. So there's at least maybe some more excitement for the New York Jets fan. I don't know. I don't want to entertain that. The New Jersey Devils are playing well. It's no longer, maybe the Giants are sadly the worst team in New York. So if you're a fan of New York sports, it's a fun time to watch. I hope you're having a fun time watching this show. When we come back, it's all football, the second half of this show. We have to talk about the Super Bowl commercials, okay? Because I read a stat the other day about what they used to cost and what they cost now, and what a mind-blowing number. So Super Bowl commercial costs, and we break down Super Bowl 59, the preview of Philadelphia offense and Saquon Barkley versus the Kansas City defense led by longtime Super Bowl champion defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. I'm Andrew Romanella. This is The Rome Show. It is 12 OZ Sports, and we are back after this commercial break.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Yeah, The Rome Show, 12 OZ Sports, X YouTube. I heard we might be live on Fire TV now. Yeah. Bro, you can get 12 Ounce Sports anywhere. And honestly, if you were smart, you just follow it everywhere, okay? And I've been watching. I have Sling TV. I don't know what anyone else has at home. I know, YouTube's out there, Amazon's out there. I mean, it's a it's a streaming platform nightmare, honestly, when it comes to watching professional sports sometimes. But I'm a Sling TV guy because of the cost. Okay. Avid, obviously, fan of every sport, and I have my own teams that I am a fan of. However, as I've gotten into the radio realm, I've started to realize how much I enjoy watching every sport, every team, even if I had a hatred for them when I was growing up. I really started to enjoy it. So I got Sling TV, okay, and I don't get really crushed with ads. Obviously, per channel, Sling TV kind of acts like a guide. And I'm sitting here and I'm going through the guide yesterday. And I'm like, I got a lot of channels here. And I'm watching some of these channels and I'm like, that's not 12-ounce sports. I'm like, well, I think Daily Dive Lacrosse looks better than that. I'm like, wow, my guy, Beck, he does way better than that on his show. I think the Rome show looks better than that too. So I'm telling you, yeah, okay, I'm sure I'm a little biased. Don't get me wrong, but check out 12-ounce sports. If you're watching any of these other channels on your YouTube, on your Sling that comes with your sports packets, go to Roku, go to Fire, go to YouTube, go to X, and just watch 12-ounce sports. Because your production value, your entertainment value, it's going to be just as good, if not better. And don't go any farther than the Rome show every single day. If you're not a 7 a.m. person, you could watch it at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 p.m. For all I care, you can listen to it whenever you want. And that goes for every single sport on 12 OZ Sports. We won't charge you if you want to advertise us the same way that the Super Bowl charges its advertisers for its commercials. So I told you yesterday that I was doing some research, and that research, full disclosure, was for my beautiful fiance's sports marketing class. She is a professor of sports marketing along with being an associate athletic director. So she says, you know anything about Super Bowl commercials? I'm like, heck yeah. They're a ridiculous amount of money and they don't last very long. And she's like, really? Can you get me some information? So I started to do my due diligence and research, okay? And I started by finding this out, okay? In 2025, all right, the average 30-second Super Bowl commercial spot costs $7 million. $7 million for a 30-second television commercial. If you were wondering, oh, well, maybe I'll just get a pregame spot because a lot of people watch the pregame show too. They're at their parties, whatever. A 30-second pregame spot only costs you $4.5 million. And you're like, all right, well, what about postgame? Save $500,000. It only costs you $4 million. So for 30 seconds at the Super Bowl, postgame's $4 million, pregame's $4.5 million, and during game is $7 million. It's estimated that like 1 billion people tune into this game for at least a second. But on average, there are like between 100 million and 200 million viewers of the Super Bowl. So the price chart has been able to skyrocket. I'm going to ask the people, all right, and I'm going to put 5 seconds on the clock here, and I'd love to know if somebody has this answer. Actually, better yet, I'm going to ask this question, okay, and I want to see if by the time this show ends, someone can write in the answer. The first Super Bowl, okay, was 1967. Now, clearly, all right, there are going to be discrepancies in the cost of a Super Bowl commercial in 1967 and the cost of a Super Bowl commercial in 2025. But I would like to know, okay, if anybody could guess the cost of a 30-second Super Bowl commercial in 1967. I will give you 2 notes that will help you. There have been 59 Super Bowls in the history of time, okay? Super Bowl 59 is currently in 4 days, $7 million for a 30-second commercial spot. Super Bowl 30, okay, was in 1996, okay? First Super Bowl, 67. 30 years later, Super Bowl 30, 1996. The cost of a 30-second Super Bowl commercial that year was $1.085 million. So tell me, okay, take your guess. All right. I don't know what it was in 67. You guessed to me. Super Bowl 30, 1996, 1.085. And the Super Bowl this year, $7 million. Write them in. Go to YouTube, go to X. I need to know your guess. What was the cost of the Super Bowl? First ever 30-second commercial spot. While you guess how much you think the first ever commercial spot was for the Super Bowl, I'm going to give you a Super Bowl breakdown. Yesterday, we went with the offense of the Chiefs versus the defense of the Eagles. We are going to flip that script, and we are going to start with the defense of the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, here's the deal, okay? We've talked a lot about the Chiefs over the years. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, and all of the pieces that they've been able to mix in and out to keep this thing going for 7 years, and now they are going for a three-peat. There's no lie, though, that every year we get to the postseason and we start talking about how much better the Kansas City defense is playing comparative to either A, what we thought they would be, or B, what they were doing during the course of the regular season. Well, now Steve Spagnuolo has these guys playing very good. It's been like 9 postseason games since he's given up a 100-yard rusher. He's facing Saquon Barkley, best rusher in the league. So that might change, but let's look at the numbers. They give up 355 yards a game. 207 of those on average in the postseason are in the air, but 148 are on the ground. So look no further than the defensive line and the rushing defense ability of the Kansas City Chiefs comparative to Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. Think more about it, okay? Spagnuolo and KC are a change pressures, mix around pressures type defense. If that's the case, you're not just going to put 7 or 8 guys in the box and straight up go, we're going to stop this defense. You're going to try and mix looks. You're trying to create change, okay? So that's going to be the key right there. What schemes are we going to adjust that you can stay true to your we want pressure mentality, not give up A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outsides, but not allow Saquon Barkley to do what he's done so far in the postseason? The Chiefs, they've given up 21.5 points per game so far in 2 postseason games. They're led by George Karlaftis on the defensive line. He has 3 sacks, but in total, the team has 10, split between 8 different players. So I thought that was an elite stat right there for the Chiefs. They've also forced 4 fumbles in this postseason. What are they going up against on the other side? They're going up against the best running offense we have ever seen in the postseason. Right now, the Philadelphia Eagles through 3 games have rushed for 683 yards. That is a 227.7 rushing yards per game average. Okay. On the flip, they've only thrown for 138.7 total passing yards. But who the hell cares? Because they average, 35 points per game. That is 4 points clear and above higher than any other team in the postseason for a total of 366 yards per game, which you cannot deny is an elite level statistic. And at the end of the day, it's about scoring points. It's not about anything else. Here's how they've spread that rushing wealth. Led by Saquon Barkley, he's got 442 rushing yards in the postseason, a 147.3 average, and 5 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts, the second leading rusher, at 122. So think about that. Your quarterback and your running back are running roughshod over everybody. You got to stop that. He throws in some touchdowns as well. Passing-wise, might not be a lot, but it's what they need. Nearly 70% completions when it's necessary. And check out these numbers. Thrown 3 touchdowns. He's got Dallas Goedert, 188 and 1 touchdown. Devontae Smith, 121 receiving yards. And A.J. Brown, 120 with a touchdown. So he's also spreading the ball. My only concern, a generally great Eagles offensive line has given up 11 sacks in this postseason. So there's the key on the flip. All right. We talked about the defensive line getting to the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's going to come down to the trenches. Okay. And that's such an easy, simple football terminology to use, but I'm not using it like that in terms of it's got to be coming down to the trenches. That's the game of football. No, that's how these two teams are built. Okay. The Chiefs want to get to the quarterback. They want to make it uncomfortable. They want to change their pressures. The Eagles want to run the rock. They want to establish the line of scrimmage. They want to establish dominance there, and they don't need to throw the football unless they have to throw the football. So that is it right there. For me, that's the fun matchup I am looking at. Those two lines in the trenches, and what is Saquon Barkley against Kansas City, who has historically found a way to, even against great running backs, keep them down. So no matter which way you look at this matchup, whatever side of the ball you're looking at, this is an elite matchup. And it's our second time in 3 years seeing these two teams square off. So I'm very excited to see where this matriculates. We will finish our Super Bowl 59 preview tomorrow, okay, where we will give you our general breakdown of the entire game, plus give you some props that we think you should take, give you our hopeful thought on the victor here, and then a little bit more because it's Friday. So we'll be watching that over the weekend. We just want to make sure we get you right if you want to put some bananas on it. I asked the people to make some guesses on what the cost of the OG Super Bowl commercial was when we first got started in 1967. I got a few way too much money. We're not talking 6 digits here. We're going to hold this till tomorrow. So write at us on social media, okay? Save your thoughts for tomorrow, but we are way off, people, in terms of what we are thinking. I got a $350,000. I got a $500,000. I thought I was going to get a $1, Bob, but nonetheless, 1967, 30 seconds, Super Bowl commercial spot. You tell me what you think it costs while I tell you what my picks are for this evening.
Ba 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 na na ba 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 na na.
All right. Bananas. It's time for our bananas. We got to win some of them for you. I told you yesterday, we have been cooking recently. And when we get out of football season, I only usually take 2 picks per night just to make sure I can be efficient for my team. I told you, De'Aaron Fox headed to Atlanta to play the Spurs for his first game ever in a San Antonio uniform, and he did not disappoint. 24 points, 13 assists, 3 steals. And he helped lead San Antonio to a 126-125 road victory. Good start for the newly acquired point guard with his newly acquired all-star teammates. We said that we thought the Nuggets were going to beat the Pelicans by more than 10.5 points. And they did beat the Pelicans by nearly 30-plus points. So another 2-0 day for the kid. And that brings our record to 38-34. We're on a 4-game heater right now, and we have, I think, maybe picked 8 of our last 9 or something like that. So stay with us. Get your bananas ready because we're going to the ice. We got the Devils, okay? 30-19 and like 3 against the Knights, who are like 31-17 and 3. Both teams are really good. However, the Vegas Golden Knights are 12-11 and 3 on the road. They play way better in Las Vegas than they do away from Las Vegas. The New Jersey Devils, they have 15 wins of their 30 at home, and they've won their last 2 at the Prudential Center. Also, the Devils are top 15 in the league this year in terms of attendance, so they play really well at home. So I'm going to take the Devils on the money line, hosting the Vegas Golden Knights tonight in Newark. Continuing, Alex Ovechkin 17 goals away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's record. Alex Ovechkin's Washington Capitals are arguably the best team in the league, 35-11-7. They are 7-1-2 in their last 10 games. They're taking on the Philadelphia Flyers, who are not that. They're losers of 4 straight, and they've only won 4 of their last 10 opportunities. So go ahead and give me the Caps at the -1.5 tonight against the Flyers. So I get the Devils on the money line against the Knights, and I got the Caps -1.5 against the Flyers as the favorite. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your Rome Show. Thursday, February 6, 2025. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in. Thank you to the people that are commenting. I need to know what your thoughts are on the cost of the Super Bowl, the first year commercials that they ever came out. We'll talk about it tomorrow on the Rome Show. We'll break down the big game, and we'll give you our predictions and our props for Sunday. Stay with us every single day at 7 a.m. here on 12OZ Sports. You have an electric day. I'm Andrew Romanella, and I'm saying peace.
Thank you for listening.